This is by no means designed to be a beginner introduction to fly casting video. But what this video is about, this is about the final launch. And this is a technique that we've sharpened over the last few years, and most specifically for fishing on platforms, AKA Stillwater boats, saltwater boats, something where you have the control of the line on the floor, not in a moving water situation where it's perhaps being swept away from you or coiling downriver. This is designed specifically for almost being in a stand-up position when you're casting fly lines. Today, to demonstrate the final launch, I've brought a 5-weight floating 10-foot 4 rod, a 6-weight intermediate clear camo sink 10-foot 4 rod, and also a 6-weight 1-3-6 combination sinking line. And that's to demonstrate all three of the popular kind of go-to fly lines in the Stillwater fly fishing game. Something to remember and to keep in strong consideration is there's two major friction points during a fly cast. And one of the major friction points is the first eyelet, and that can also be called the stripping guide. And of course, the last section of friction is ultimately your top tip. That's of course where the line is going to be meeting the rod coming through off the floor or from your hand at that stripping guide. Friction zone number 1, and friction zone number 2 is at your tip, because that's where the line is, obviously shooting, coming back and forth, and it needs to exit in different angles from your top tip. Super important to note. Now, why this technique is something that's becoming widely used nowadays and just helps move that line from the floor and present your rod at a finished angle exactly where you want to be to bring everything down to you in a stripping position, is because of the way the line is laying from the floor out to the rod. Now, if you watch during the demonstration of this cast, you'll notice a few things. You'll notice how the line is making a specific loop where it enters friction zone number 1, the stripping guide. And if you think about it, as your line is in the air and your rod is at this angle or that angle, you're having friction zone number 2 from your top tip. So ideally, at the end of the cast, if you can get the angle to produce this direction higher up coming off the floor in that straight direction coming off your top tip, you've eliminated the most drag possible from your fly line and your fly rod. So have a look how this is done, and at what point at the end of the launch are we bringing it up and changing the direction. So here we go first with an indicator rig set up on a weight forward floating line. This is Scientific Angler's Titan Long, which is a great line for indicator fishing with an extra large long taper. This is a 15-foot tapered leader with my indicator pegged at 12 feet with a balanced leash and a swivel, just to show you that this isn't a perfect 9-foot leader with a small nymph that's going to turn over easily. This is a pretty common leader setup. Something that we can't stress enough, and I'm sure you've heard it a million times, especially in the spring and fall season, is give your line a good stretch, and stretch that section that you're going to be casting a few times a day. You're going to see it starting to coil up when the weather is colder and that water is cold. But as I'm pulling out of the reel, I'll just stop here and stretch, pinching at the cork and pulling on the forward hand. Always a good idea, always something to do. So I'm just going to demonstrate here now what a basic final launch looks like. So I'm just doing a light forward and rear false cast into probably about 40 feet of line here. Then there's the forward final launch. See the angle that the rod's at? I'm also parallel with the line that's unraveling in the air. Show you again with a little more line here on the floor. Now we're into the different colored section of the line, which is lets you know you're working with a little more. So just gonna start with some regular false casts here. Moving, letting go about 4 feet of line on each forward cast, and then the launch. See this angle? Now what happens when I drop this back down, I have no slack, perfectly laid out, and I have complete control in the strip position now. There's nothing left on the floor. So here I am with a clear intermediate, level 1 slow sink. I'm gonna start with a roll cast, start my false casts, and when I'm ready to launch, I'm gonna put the rod parallel with the water in the top position. So here I am with SA's Sync 136. This line ends in type 6. This is a really aggressive sinking Stillwater line and shoots like a rocket. Super important with these lines, make sure you're not stepping on any of it on the floor. You can hear that coating. So again, I'm gonna start my false casts. And as I'm getting ready to launch, I'm gonna put the rod parallel to the water and lift up for that final launch. So this lifting, pointing, final launch technique may not be for everybody, but give it a shot. The next time you're out on a Stillwater or on the saltwater, off of a deck or a flat surface, and you're dealing with coiled fly line on the floor, give it a shot. Like I said, being able to point up and over during the cast eliminates some of that friction at both the stripping guide and the tip, and enables your rod to match the level of your line as it's looping to pull more from the floor. And what will happen is you will end up at the top with your line in that stripping grabbing position as you drop back down. Thanks again for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe. Also comment below if there's something that you'd like to see us describe on our next video.